top 5 finishing moves in WWE history. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction. As always, let's cheers and let's talk about some wrestling, huh? Anyway, we are going to be ranking our own personal, we have not seen each other's list per usual, list of the top 5 finishers in WWE history. As always, honorable mentions go first. Would you like to go or me? I'm pretty sure I went first last week, so you go first. Honorable mention.
First. My honorable mention was probably the toughest thing for me to do, which makes no sense. I thought about Razor's Edge. I thought about the Baron Corbin End of Days. I thought about RVD's Frog Splash. Just like things I really thought were super cool. My honorable mention, though, went with Kane's chokeslam.
Kane specifically
Kane.
That's a big time thing here. You have to
chokeslams are. It is specifically Kane. Obviously, chokeslams are the big man move. Damian Priest does one now. I do like the way Damian sits down with his.
I love it.
I like that. But Kane's, to me, is the best chokeslam that there's been. Even better than Taker's because of the way he cocks it back and the force.
Well, specifically like Mass Kane.
Mass Kane from obviously like debut into like 2000 and
into early unmasked days.
Yes. As he got older, obviously can't do it as much, but those prime era days of Kane, give me that chokeslam.
Well, and the guys that were taking him at the time, like Lesnar could get like 10 feet off the ground. He could really help him with the jump, and so the chokeslams were always crazy. All right, my honorable mention. I had to put this on the list because. It's not a finishing move that was used very long, but its effectiveness was incredible. It was realistic as hell, and I have to give it my honorable mention, and that is the punt.
It's a punt. It's a punt.
It's the punt. It's the Randy Orton punt. I have some notes on it. Turns out Arn Anderson was the one that told Orton to do it in 2007. It was banned in 2009, obviously, once he kicked Vince McMahon's skull off and gave him a concussion.
Yes.
That's so ironic. I mean, it really is. But then he brought it back very shortly in 2020 when Edge was feuding with him. He kicked Christian in the head. Old guys, they were okay with him doing it. Obviously, he didn't use it very long. It was banned most of his career. But man, when Orton was pulling out those punt kicks on like Stephanie McMahon and stuff, come on.
Oh, that bald psycho Randy Orton with the punts and the RKOs. I mean, even to this day, like they still tease the punt.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it and everybody loves it.
And everybody in the arena is like, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Just do it. I don't care. Just do it. So yeah, if there's a finishing move that could happen to your grandma and you're like, you know what? Yeah. It's the punt and you're just kind of like, that happens.
Yep.
Number 5, I don't know if it's going to be on your list, which I think is good. I went with JBL's Clothesline from Hell.
Oh, I love the Clothesline from Hell.
Went with the Clothesline from Hell, named actually by Stone Cold, which I didn't actually know that.
No, I didn't.
So JBL came up with that. Obviously, anybody that's seen it, even the days that he first started, it's a clothesline unlike any other. And I mean, it's the best clothesline. It's just so much force. I believe he at one point said in an interview, either you're going to sell this or I'm going to make you sell it. So
I mean, there wasn't even much selling involved. The way he would full on throw it.
Yeah,
like it was like he was doing like a cable fly with his chest. Like a lot of guys throw it and they hit and they just kind of they keep their arm there.
Yeah,
but JBL would full on just
full on throw it. He's gonna fall on his face sometimes too. You get it on some of those. I specifically remember one on Ray back when JBL obviously had progressed to. Is that
the one where he like casually went back on the rope, like he was dressed up in like a
and just decapitates?
Oh, dude!
So for me, the rest of the list I think are kind of more well known or ones that people be like, yeah, that makes sense. But I had to put that in there just because I was like, every time I see it, I'm like, you know what? It's got to get some backing somewhere.
No, I completely agree. Spoiler alert: Clothesline from Hell did not make my list. I was thinking about it. I sat there. I was. In WWE 2K24, my player that I went through the career with has a Clothesline from Hell. I love that move. But number 5 for me, I had to throw this one on there. And I definitely don't think you're expecting it to be on there. I'm gonna go with the Swanton Bomb, Jeff Hardy, because of the way that he is able to do that anywhere and has done it anywhere. It's iconic at this point. if there is a tall thing to jump off of, odds are Jeff Hardy is going to try to swanton bomb off it, and he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if the person below him moves. It doesn't matter if they take it.
Yeah.
He's going to do it. I mean, he's done it off of steel cages, tall ladders, through other ladders. Hell, he did it off the Raw set.
And he's done it off of random sections.
Yeah, he's done
just section signs in arenas.
It is just one of those things, and I think it's one of the few moves that like people around our age, or I would say people from like 18 to 35, even if you've never watched wrestling, you still know like Jeff Hardy Swanton Bomb.
Yeah.
And it's just too iconic for me to leave off the list. I don't necessarily, I don't put it on my list because of like the impact of like when he hits it, it's a guaranteed 3 or anything like that. Right. It's just iconic for how he's done it over the years. Yeah. It deserves a spot in the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think anybody would bat an eye at that. It's almost one of those things too. He's perfected it so well that nobody else is like, you see people sometimes like, oh, okay, this guy's got a powerbomb. This guy's got a powerbomb. This guy does a shooting star press. This guy does one. Nobody else does that. It's pretty much him.
And not to mention, he still does it in AEW.
Still does it. And I would be lying if, and I'm sure you guys would as well, if you had a trampoline growing up, you were swanton bombing somebody.
You tried the swanton, bro.
You had to. Yeah. Number 4 is now what people I would say think maybe isn't a finisher. Back in the day, though.
Oh, it could be a couple things.
It could be a couple things. But you gotta give it to me, the Heartbreak Kid, sweet chin music, tuning up the band. Even though, admittedly, when he tunes up the band, he doesn't always hit it.
No,
I would always like it. Like, oh, okay, cool. Really? He's gonna tune it up.
It's a pretty big tell.
Yeah, it's a pretty big tell, and then it's like, oh,
hey, buddy, I'm about to kick you.
Yeah. Tuning up the band.
But it's fucking awesome.
Everybody gets into it. I mean, that was one of the first kind of crowd interactions with the finisher that I can at least remember.
Yeah.
In terms of everybody clapping along, getting excited, yelling. Obviously, he's had iconic ones. I mean, there was the whole segment backstage with Triple H when he was with DX where he was kicking this guy, kicking this guy, kicking this guy. Sean Spears, you're getting one. This guy's getting one.
I mean, I have a special place in my heart for it. Like I will mention it 100 times throughout the years of us doing this. Hopefully, that my first match I ever watched of wrestling live was Shelton Benjamin versus Shawn Michaels, where Shawn Michaels hit the sweet chin music while Shelton did a springboard on him. And immediately I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. It made me fall in love with wrestling right away. Couldn't agree with you more. It deserves a spot on this list.
Let's see.
Number 4, it's the finishing move that every superstar practices a way to take. It is synonymous with the biggest SOB in wrestling history. It's the Stone Cold Stunner, man. Yeah, it's Braun Strowman. No, the Stone Cold Stunner, man. It has to be in the top 5. It's the Stunner, man. Everybody practices it. And it's hilarious to go and watch a compilation video of people who can't take the shit well. Watching Vince McMahon like become a dead body when he took it in the ring when he had the neck brace on. He just like melted onto Stone Cold.
Or the very first one.
Yeah, or the very first.
Or Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon also took one that she just,
And one of the most recent ones was Pat McAfee drinking the beer, taking it, and then slowly leaning back as he spits the beer up. Yep. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Absolutely.
I did look up some stuff on it just because I wanted to make sure I had a background on all my finishers, but it was actually the first time he used it, they called it the Kick Wham Stunner. Just so you know. And the first guy to use it was actually Mikey Whipwreck.
Oh, yeah.
ECW, and he called it the Whippersnapper. Should have kept the name.
I kind of like that.
And I have to mention that part of the move is when Stone Cold hits you with it, at least in the Attitude Era, a couple birds were coming with it, man.
Yeah.
Some birds would fly by right by your face.
Stunner is a great finishing move, and that's why it's number 3 on my list. So as you said,
it has to be
on there. It is the top finishing move in the time where wrestling was at its peak.
Yeah,
that era. There's a couple of finishing moves you could honestly say are top, but Stone Cold is head and shoulders.
Yeah.
You think about it. I'm getting in a fight. If I'm kicking you in the stomach, you're gonna bend over and be like, "Oh man, that kind of hurt." And then you're getting your jaw broken. Like it's a little bit ridiculous at times. I mean, the sells though. You give me Jericho. You got to mention The Rock.
Yep.
I would love to see Ziggler sell one.
Owen sold it pretty good too, most recently.
Yeah. There's been, just the amount of sales off of it. Like you said, the
Austin
compilation
Theory.
videos.
Just thinking of recent sells from the guys who are doing it now, who have had their entire lifetime thinking about, oh, what if I took a stunner? And they did a good job. And
every kid growing up has that dream. Man, I want to get a stunner. And how would I do it? How would I sell it?
I feel like it's the finishing move that everybody in wrestling wants to take.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they could take one move, they would all say, I want to take a Stone Cold Stunner.
Yeah.
I need to take a Stone Cold Stunner.
Yeah.
And what's cool about the stunner is to me it's synonymous with whenever I picture a stunner in my head happening, I see thousands of lights flickering in the crowd from the era of the flashing cameras. So
yeah. And you just think about it, like you said, everybody wants to take one. Most people before Stone Cold, I mean, like you said, Mikey had started it, but stunner's kind of like I don't want to say like a routine one, but it can be a pretty common move. But now it's like that's the Stone Cold Stunner, and that is what it is.
Yeah, Kevin Owens, never do it again.
Yeah,
Stop.
That's the bottom line.
Number 3 for me was a move that was probably my favorite growing up as a kid. I have 2 more on my list that I think are better, but as a kid, this was probably my favorite one. Man, the Cerebral Assassin can give a pedigree like no other, especially from like the late 90s to the mid 2000s
where he doesn't hook,
he doesn't let go of the hook.
He hooks the arms and he doesn't let go.
Yeah, he doesn't let go of the hook. He kept their arms through the entire movement, so guys were literally just like this, landing on the mat.
Yeah, your head's going right in.
The pedigree is just, I mean, that was one of those moves that I did, like how I mentioned the Swanton. You didn't think a 3 was happening. The pedigree had a point where he hit the pedigree, and it was like if he hit that on your favorite guy, you were just like, oh no, it's over. But I was looking this up. Turns out the first guy to use a pedigree, double arm underhook facebuster, Andre the Giant. Could you imagine getting double arm hooked, power bombed, or face whatever I just said by Andre the Giant? That'd be insane.
No,
but Triple H pedigree number 3.
My number 2. Ooh, I would say is the most well-known WWE finisher mainstream. Everybody knows it. It's got 3 letters in it. And you see clips, whether you are a wrestling fan, you're out at the pool, it doesn't matter. You're getting that RKO. Yeah. You already mentioned the punt and the honorable mentions. I mean, Randy Orton, obviously that RKO is glorious. DDP did it before with the diamond cutter. I believe there was somebody else that had it before too, but I can't remember his name. I'm sure it's probably on your list. So RKO's got to be number 2 on my list. You can't say much more than that. I mean, I heard somebody say once, what would Randy Orton be without the RKO? And it was just like, what was it? And TN, like Andy TN.
God damn it.
God damn it. That's how synonymous it is, man. Like, that's how great it is. Yeah. It's just next level. And the amount of spots, the Rollins one, Ziggler had one where he came off a power bomb and did one. The Evan Bourne one, Kofi's taking him. I mean, the Speed one recently.
Yeah. It went viral as hell.
So. Yeah. I mean, just and for me, I put it at number 2 specifically because you can hit it out of nowhere. I know it's a catchphrase, but it's so cool, especially early on, to see like, oh my God, this guy can literally win at any time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's also number 2 on mine. Not only because it's mainstream, but because of how ridiculous it is.
Well, just hearing that, I think our 1 and 2s might be the same here again. My number 2 is the Randall Keith Orton, man, the RKO. I mean, John Laurinaitis was the other one. John Laurinaitis had the ace cutter. Yeah. Did I know that before I looked it up? No. But I mean, I could sit here and reiterate everything you just said. It's the most mainstream move in wrestling history. It's something to where when I said earlier about the Swanton as well, when people who don't know wrestling still know the Swanton, people who don't know wrestling know Randy Orton and they know the RKO.
Yeah.
Without ever even thinking that WWE exists. They know this stuff. It is like, and Randy Orton would not still be wrestling today without it. That's what people need to understand. It was one of those moves where if you watch interviews from him when he was taken off in the early 2000s of him, when they asked him, where did you get this? He said, I wanted a move I could hit on anybody at any time and not do damage to my body. And it's the most perfect move. And it's like, well, cutter's kind of lazy. That's what people kind of say. But it's like, he just does it different. You're right. It's just a cutter. But there's something about Randy Orton's. I mean, the way it's like butter through it's like knife through butter, hot butter in wrestling style. It's so smooth. It just does it right.
Like a Michael Jackson moonwalk.
Exactly.
You know?
It really is. It's like a lot of people can moonwalk, but Michael Jackson's moonwalk is just
like
different.
It is different, you know.
It just is. And I love Randy, and not much more you can say. It's a great move.
No, not much at all. Fun fact, or I guess trivia, I'm going to ask you before we go on to the number ones. What was his first finisher? You remember what that was?
Ooh, give me a sec. Dude, it's weird. It's like I put a VHS in my head. I'm watching a bunch of OVW in my head right now.
See, I don't think of VHSs. I think of the SmackDown,
like
Shut Your Mouth or whatever. Like whatever that first game was that he was in.
Did he have like a Luthez press?
No, it was an overdrive.
Oh.
He puts his leg on your head and then he grabs your arm and then safe to say that's not in the top 5 of anybody's.
No.
My number 1, best finisher of all time, greatest finisher, most protected finisher, I'd even say. It's a Tombstone pile driver from The Undertaker. Not much more to say. It's synonymous. It fits the character perfectly. You had it, Kane kicked out. That was the first one to kick out in, I believe, 98.
Yep.
And you fast forward, Batista is the next one to kick out in 08. So 10 years, nobody kicks out of it. Like you said, it's one of those things that when it gets hit, like, it's game over. And Taker, admittedly, chokeslam, last ride, like he had a variety of moves. But when he hit that Tombstone, it was different.
Yeah.
When he hit that and the eyes roll back in his head, like it's game over.
Especially when he would pin out of it.
Yeah.
If he tombstone you and then he crossed your arms, like it's done, man.
Yeah, you tombstone and you're sitting there and he folds you like you're in a coffin and he sticks his tongue out and he rolls his eyes back. Most iconic pose of all time, even.
Yeah.
So it's got to be number 1.
I'm glad we had a couple differences because the numbered 1 and 2, I feel like it has to be the same thing on everybody's list. It really does. The Tombstone pile driver, Undertaker. Everything you just said is completely correct. I do want to say I was doing some research, obviously, on all this stuff. It was invented by a guy named Carl Gotch, who was the first guy to utilize it.
Okay, Carl Gotch. I've heard Carl Gotch's name before. The first guy. Give me a hint.
It happened it happened at what's New York? Madison Square Garden.
Oh my God, Madison Square Garden. No clue.
Andre the Giant again.
That's Can you
believe this? We're fed.
He puts on 5-star matches. Let me tell you.
I guess so. We can go on Andre the Giant another day, but Undertaker. I mean, the Tombstone pile driver is the move. I think it's really, as you said, it's the most protected move in history. I think it's one of those moves. It is honestly one of those moves where every time he hit it, you thought it was done.
Yeah.
And if anybody kicked out of it, it was always an eye opener. Like, oh, thank God. Now we live in the era now where, Cody Rhodes is hitting 3 crossroads to end people. Love you, Cody. But like finishers don't seem protective anymore, especially in like AEW. The idea of selling big time moves is not as prevalent as it used to be.
Yeah.
But
it's a great way. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's a great way to put over your opponent as well. Like,
yeah,
okay, he hits the choke slam, he kicks out of my choke slam. Oh, the last ride even. Like, oh, he kicks out of that even. And I know obviously I'm blurring versions of Taker in years, but let's say he throws the whole bag out and it's like, okay, well this guy's super strong. It's like Tombstone. Okay, well, like nobody kicks out of it.
Well, that's the thing. There was a part of Undertaker's era where he would finish guys with the choke slam, with the last ride, where the Tombstone wasn't seen in the match.
Right.
So you're 100% right. Is that the Tombstone? There was a time where the Tombstone was only used in the big time matches to put away the big time guys, and you're right that we're missing that in this era of like these big time moves and kicking out of them once you take them should be something big and should sell your opponent, or it should build the guy that just kicked out instead of just being, ooh, for shock and awe. And the Tombstone pile driver was the quintessential finishing move.
And one last point, I guess, before we wrap this one up. You look at people that did pile drivers before. Jerry Lawler famously had a great one as well. Kane's was not great. Kane always went too fast with it. It's something slow about Taker, the way Taker slowly drives your head in.
And Kane would do. I didn't like when the feet were on the side.
Yeah.
I like Undertaker getting the full.
Yeah. It's just a cool looking shot.
Yeah.
and Taker sells it, and actually it seems like he's driving you to death. So, but I know obviously people, I was going to say, don't do the pile driver much anymore because of safety reasons.
Yeah.
But it speaks to Taker's ability to be safe.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time where it's like nobody can do these things except Taker. Like Taker's that guy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, when Taker was stumbling over in his final matches in wrestling, he was still able to hit a safe pile driver. So, got to give it to him. Do you agree or disagree with our list? And what is your top 5 finishing moves? Let us know in the comments. I am Will. That is Brandon. Follow us at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod on all socials. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're the Cousins Instruction. We will see you next time.